Well, thank you so much for the question, and I want to thank Kagide for organizing this important panel and for bringing this topic to the conversation.
Thank you.
And I want to start by saying, aside from the trillions that we're talking about, why is UN Women coming into this field? And I think numbers do speak for themselves, because we know that around the world we have around 224 million women entrepreneurs who account for 35% of the firms who are part of the formal economy. But when you compare that to procurement practices, they are getting only 1% of the global spend on procurement. So this is an indicator of actually something very wrong. So this is why we're engaged in this area. Now, in terms of what it is that we do, one of the first things that we're trying to do is to build the business case, why you should look at procurement in a gender-responsive way. And I think, without going into the details, it does make business sense. It does create better revenue. It does build better adaptability. We talked a lot about innovation. There's a lot of innovation in this amongst women suppliers. There is also better service delivery. And also this has got to do with also the branding. There is a positive impact in terms of the branding for those who are investing in this area. So for us, also, very importantly, we're talking about financial value, but we are really talking about, if we're talking about value chains, it also, investing in gender-responsive procurement is a value-based proposition that goes beyond the financials. So this is one thing that we're doing. We're also very much looking at partnerships because we cannot ourselves do it all, but we see ourselves as conveners, bringing partners that are part of a larger ecosystem. But we want to also build standards, so we're partnering with standards bodies to look at gender-responsive procurement standards. We're also looking at partnerships in a way to invest in women-owned businesses, but also work with the supplier and the buyer sides of the equation. This is part of our partnership with Kagide, where we have developed a model training for private sector to kind of show them how to do it. Because I think many times, even if they agree in principle to do it, it's the how to do it that is important. So we're really focusing on that. So we are partnering to implement and to pilot, as I mentioned. Turkey is actually a great space for us to do this kind of partnership building. As I mentioned, we're working with Kagide, but we're also working, for example, with the government of Turkey on public procurement practices that they can become more gender responsive. And we have great buy-in from private sector as well. And Yildiz Holding has come on board as the first to champion gender responsive procurement, and they're making an investment from their corporate social responsibility of over $4 million to improve their own gender-responsive procurement practices. So this is just a sample of what it is we do, but I will be able to share some more as we go along. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for the question, and I'm going to combine it with the final messages as well, because I know we are running out of time. And one of the things, listening to the opening remarks, one of the messages I would like to share with the audience is I heard a lot of nice words speaking about women, but I feel that the numbers speak for themselves. The words are not translating into actions, so we really need to move beyond the lip service. So to do that, you don't need to talk about women, you need to be engaging them. Women entrepreneurs are the experts on what their needs and challenges are, and we need to put them at the center of everything that we do. And that brings me to the actions. What is it that you can do? If you don't know what to do, or even if you are already doing something but it's not bringing the result, the second message to you is partner. You need to partner. And I think this panel, and you're not even getting 10% of the power of partnerships that exist in many different ways across the different panelists. but there is true power to partnership. So there are ways in which we can make what is currently invisible. You know, we know that there are women entrepreneurs out there, but they're not accessing the opportunities, and partnership is the way to make them more visible. Women-owned businesses are out there. Gender responsive, or businesses that are promoting gender equality as a value, are out there, and there's ways in which you can access them. So one action, again, that is doable is look for partners. And I can speak a little bit, but I'll come to it at the end in terms of some of the partnership initiatives. Another action has to do with the so-called women's empowerment principles that private sector can take on board. These are principles that were developed by UN Women and UN Global Compact to help companies. And actually gender responsive procurement and many of the issues that we are talking about are one of those principles. It used to be that Turkey was the #1 in the world in terms of number of companies that had signed up to the principles. It's currently #2, but I think it can go into the #1 position again. And of course, we're looking as a region, so it's also across the region. We know that Kazakhstan also has a number of signatories, as does Georgia and other countries of the region. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing, because that's also part of the principles, these women's empowerment principles, is you do need to look inwards. As you look outwards to partner, but to be able to partner, you also need to look inwards. And I'll come back to something that Her Excellency Fatma Shaheen mentioned, which is looking at data. Look at who you are procuring from, who are you buying from. Are you buying from those businesses? And so it means you have to actually measure. And I do agree that we treasure what we measure. So if you are serious about this, you need to be looking at this. And finally, because I know we're tight on time, but I did want to speak about a partnership vehicle that we've engaged in, which does put women entrepreneurs at the center. We're calling it the Women's Entrepreneurship Expo. But it's really about partnerships. Last year we launched it. It is a virtual convening because we were dealing with the pandemic at the time, but we will continue to do it as regional because we are talking about beyond country borders, right? How do you build also value chains, global value chains? And so think in different ways and build resilience also to shocks that we've all experienced. So we thought, okay, we bring women entrepreneurs at the center of this, but we bring the partners who are already investing. We know that a lot of investments are being made on women's entrepreneurship, on the policy environment, but it's not leading to the results. So it's really about convening that conversation and keep moving the needle in the right direction. So this expo, I mean, we did it again this year, and just we had immediately over 1,600 applications from women entrepreneurs from across the region. It was really important for us to reach out to them in their local languages. So I think language and language barriers is something that we need to look at also in terms of this accessibility. And we were able to convene more than 30 partners around this initiative. And we can see that from the one side, women entrepreneurs now understand the products and services that are on offer by different partners, but also we see a shift in those providing those products and services to the women entrepreneurs, that it changes and shifts their thinking and it helps them to tailor. And we had an incredible outreach. This year we were able to reach out to over 350,000 people across the region. And I think very importantly, we had summits in country, face-to-face summits and expos, which build also that relationship within country, and we partnered also with Kagider on that in Turkey. And this is also a vehicle, and I just want to end on here. There's so many things I can talk about in terms of partnership, but it really does take leadership, and every single person in this room is a leader. I commend the mayor for your leadership, because it's true, we were able to work together in Gaziantep with the Syrian women refugees there. They did set up an enterprise as a cooperative, And actually that has been the center of further partnership, because now you've got private sector company and a government from Iceland who are further investing now in that enterprise, and this is becoming a viable business for this enterprise that we believed in and initially invested in. So it's really about bringing all of our efforts together. So that's my call to you. Do look inwards, do find ways to partner, and don't just talk about it. Really hold yourself to accountable. What have you done? So next year's summit, we heard really good words here, but what has changed in what each and every one of you is doing in this area? Thank you very much.